Welcome everyone to the first extraordinary meeting of the newly formed Hilltops Council. Welcome everyone in the gallery. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land that we meet today. I humbly pay my respects to the people of the Wiradjuri and Ngunnawal nations, their past, present and emerging leaders. A little bit of housekeeping first. If you are asked to evacuate, the emergency procedure is to exit via the door leading out of the building directly behind us, behind the council chambers, and proceed to the footpath outside where likely you came in, and await further instructions. This meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with Council's live streaming in Council meetings policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The Chair and/or the General Manager have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behaviour and/or comments. We have no public forum today, received no request for a public forum. And so I'll now read the Statement of Ethical Obligations. Councillors are reminded that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment as per their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993. We have no apologies or applications for leave. We have a full contingent of councillors. Not that it's relevant. I don't believe there will be any disclosures of interest today other than your interest in being a councillor. Thank you, councillors. So, to the first matter on the agenda, we have a declaration of poll for councillors. That's EOM 6.1-2410. The recommendation is to receive and note the information on the declaration of the poll for the election of 11 councillors to the Hilltops Council following the general election held on the 14th of September 2024. Do I have
Happy to move that way.
Moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Flannery. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, that is unanimous. So, we move on to 6.2-2411, Oath and Affirmation of Office for councillors. So, in accordance with section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993, I'll invite councillors, and I'll start on my left and work around the room, to take and sign either the oath of office or affirmation of office as outlined before you and before me as required by the Act. If you would like to have a Bible, if you are taking the oath, we will bring one to you. It's not necessary. So, without further ado, Councillor Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. I'll be taking the oath. I, Brian Ingram, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Foreman.
Okay, I will also take the oath. So I, Alison Foreman, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Foreman. Councillor Davis.
I will also be taking the oath. I, Jake Davis, swear that I will understand the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of the Hilltops Council local government area and the Hilltops Council, that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act at the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Mackie.
Best interests of the people of Hilltops, thanks Jake, of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Mackie, for your oath. Councillor Douglas.
I will take the oath. I, Fiona Douglas, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, General Manager. I'll take the oath. I, Tony Flannery, swear that I'll undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Stadmiller.
I, Councillor Matthew Stadmiller, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. I, James Blackwell, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of Hilltops Council local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Councillor Gallo.
I, Michelle Gallo, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Councillor Langford.
I've forgotten my name already. Thank you, General Manager. I, Neil Langford, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Hilltops Council local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Langford. Councillor Dodd.
I, Mary Dodd, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of Hilltops Council local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Dodd. Thank you, councillors. And now, under the Local Government Act, you are fully councillors. So, for the first order of business of the new council, it is report 6.3 24/12, the election of a mayor. Now, in
Move
accordance...
the recommendation with number 3, open voting.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Do we have a seconder for that? Okay. Councillors, we do have a nomination. We have 2 nominations for Mayor, one for Councillor Ingram and one for Councillor Foreman. So,
Excuse me, General Manager. I'd like to move an amendment to that, please. Or foreshadow a motion, whatever one.
what are you foreshadowing?
Just that it be with option 2, ordinary ballot.
Ordinary ballot, okay.
Could I speak
so
to
that's-
could I speak to my motion before you put that to council?
I believe that would be a foreshadowed...
Yeah, no, but could I
motion.
speak to mine?
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor.
Thank you. Councillors, I moved the recommendation with open voting on the basis that I believe that every councillor in this room at some stage in their campaign said we would be seeking accountability and transparency. Well, here's the chance to show the community that we're fair dinkum with that being transparent and accountable by showing our votes in open. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Do we have a speaker against that motion, or someone else would like to speak for that motion? Oh,
I'm happy to speak against it.
Okay, thank you.
I think, as this is the first meeting, that it is hard for people for their first time, and I myself am happy to work with whoever gets in as mayor, and I do not want to... I would like that to be seen that it doesn't matter. I don't want to be saying this person over this person early on, because I'm happy to work with whoever gets in as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dodd. Do we have someone for the motion to have open voting, being a show of hands? And just for people, on an ordinary ballot we have pieces of paper behind and people write the name down and I get to see them. Anyone else would like to speak for it? Are you for the motion? Just for, the process is for. Is there someone who wants to speak for it? If not, you can speak against it.
Thank you. To the best of my understanding, the precedent, we have a strong precedent here of having the first mayoral ballot be conducted as an ordinary ballot rather than by a show of hands. I think we should stick with the precedent the council has set in the past.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. If there's no further commentary...
I'll have my right to reply.
Oh, you have?
Thank you.
Certainly, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. I take on board what the 2 speakers against have said, but it just flies in the face of everything that we've just said we do for our community. And I'm sorry, Councillor Dodd, and I would hope that whoever is mayor, I most certainly will work with Councillor Foreman, and I'm pretty sure Councillor Foreman will work with Councillor Ingram. And all the other councillors do the same. Sitting there saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to show it one way or another. I'm sorry, there's going to be a vote, then you have to vote for one person. So it doesn't matter which person you vote for. You're not voting against the other person, you're voting for a person. And I believe, as I said, everyone said to the community, we will be accountable and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. With no further comments, so we are voting to have the vote as an open voting, being a show of hands. Those for that motion, please raise your hands. Councillor Ingram, Councillor Davis, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Flannery, Councillor Stadmiller, Councillor Gallo and Councillor Langford. No, this is just to have the voting process. Sorry? This is just for the voting process.
Did you count, Councillor Mackey?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Did you have? Oh, sorry, I missed your hand. Sorry, Councillor Mackey. Sorry. Okay. And those against that motion, Councillor Foreman, Councillor Blackwell, and Councillor Dodd. The motion is passed. The election of the mayor will be by open voting. So, we have 2 nominations before us, Councillor Ingram and Councillor Foreman. We will just, as they came to me, I believe, well, I'm not sure how they came to me, so as it sits before me on the table, if there's no objection, I'm just going, you know, okay, well, that's fine. Okay, well, thank you, Councillor Foreman. I didn't want my very first thing to be contentious, so thank you. All right, those in favour of the election of Councillor Ingram as Mayor, please raise your hand. Councillor Ingram, Councillor Mackey, Councillor Davis, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Flannery, Councillor Stadmiller, Councillor Gallo and Councillor Langford. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The vote is 8. There's no need to continue on the vote. Congratulations, Councillor Ingram. You are now elected Mayor for the second time at Hilltops, or potentially the third or fifth. Yes. May you please come up and take your seat.
Yeah. No extra ring on that. Sorry. Okay, we're serious. We've got to be serious.
That should be raised now.
We'll adjust the chair later.
All right.
Let's get back to where we were. We now go to the election of the Deputy Mayor, item 6.4-2413, and I have before me two nominations. Oh,
I'll move that we retain the existing voting system.
Councillor Flannery has moved that we retain the open voting. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Stadmiller. Thank you. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Anyone like to speak against it? Then I'll put it. All those in favour of voting open voting for the Deputy Mayor, please raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. So on that note, I have two nominations in front of me. One nomination is for Councillor Flannery and the other nomination is for Councillor Dodd. So going on the arrangement set by the General Manager, the one on top in front of me is for Councillor Flannery. So all those who would vote for Councillor Flannery to be Deputy Mayor, please raise your hand.
As the returning officer, Councillors Davis, Mackey, Douglas, Flannery, Ingram, Stadmiller, Gallo. That's overwhelmingly for. Your Deputy Mayor, Councillor Flannery.
Thank you.
Them to one side. Okay. Just waiting for the penciler to catch up. Next item on the agenda, councillors, 6.5 is the meeting dates and times for the ordinary meeting of council. The recommendation in front of you that states that council hold 11 ordinary meetings over the 24-25 term in each month, with the exception of January as listed, which is normal practice. Endorse the meeting schedule for 24-25 term, including dates and times, and endorse the location of meetings at the Hilltops Council Young Chambers. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Flannery. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Mackie.
Can I move an amendment to that? I'd like to move an amendment that we keep everything the same, but we change the times from 4:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. and that we add that the council is to investigate the cost of holding meetings semi-regularly in Harden and Boorowa.
I don't support it, so the amendment can be put.
I can talk to that. I did ask the IT team through you, Mr. Mayor, that the cost to facilitate this was between $40,000 and $50,000. So the cost would be that similarly at the other locations, and obviously we can do a budget amendment, so we can do that. That's the vicinity of the prices. But certainly we can investigate. However, it's not, the amendment is not supported, so it will be put as an amendment. So I'll just wait for the minute secretary to. The amendment will be.
Time change of 4:30 to 3:30, and
Yeah, it would be. It would actually be. It would be a D. Because you're not actually changing any of the other items. Or actually, it would be endorse the location means for young chambers, because we're investigating in Harden. We're investigating Harden and Boorowa. That's correct, Councillor Blackwell. Yes. So as an investigation of Harden and Bangor, until such time as I would bring a report back in relation to that, it would still stand at the young chambers. And as I said, we would have to. Retrofit those chambers, but that's there. So, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the days of the meeting, currently they're Wednesdays.
that's correct.
There's a little bit of movement maybe for a change of the day.
You would probably have to add another amendment, Councillor Langford, in regard to that, or if you spoke to Councillor Blackwell, it could be included in his amendment if he feels that way. But it's a separate issue, so I don't know whether you want to add it as a separate amendment or not.
Yeah, well, I'll move an amendment then. That council look at the meeting dates and look at maybe transferring it to a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, if everybody's in agreement with that. I just think that the Wednesday is proving difficult, and I think the Tuesday would be a better day if everybody's in agreement.
Thank you for that, Councillor. So that's another
So, Councillor
separate.
Blackwell, do you want that added to your amendment, or would you like that to be a second, separate amendment?
I'd keep that separate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're
separate.
getting
Yep, separate. All right. So on that basis, you've foreshadowed an amendment, and you've.
The amendment is that council change their time of meetings from 4:30 to 2:30, and point B, the investigation of meetings in Harden and Boorowa with a report back to council. That's the amendment put by Councillor Blackwell. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded, Councillor Foreman. Thank you. Councillor Blackwell, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think currently, the 4:30 p.m. often result to the meetings ending quite late, and for those of us travelling from outside of Young, from Boorowa and from Harden, we often get back at a fairly unreasonable hour back to our homes. Also, in terms of productivity, I think it's having an earlier meeting might lead to greater productivity of the councillors, given that if we are having meetings extend sort of well past dinner, often people I think are less productive in that period of the evening, and we might be able to have more conducive meetings, whether to be held a bit earlier in the day, and it might also allow members of the public to attend who otherwise might not be allowed to as well.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Do we have another speaker for that amendment?
I'd like to support James. I just know myself over the last 3 years, some of the meetings have been very late, and especially winter time. It can be pretty hairy going home, in the dark. So I'd like to support James for the 2:30 start.
Thank you for that. Would anyone like to speak against the amendment?
I'd like
Councillor
to.
Flannery.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to speak against it. The former Harden Council used to meet at 2:30 and it was seen as quite exclusionary, limited the likes of school teachers, tradies, of which I think Jake is more than cognisant. I appreciate comments by the two speakers in favour for, but I do believe length of meeting comes down to how well they're chaired. So I think that will be up to us as councillors and to the Mayor to ensure that matters are dealt with promptly and debate is kept to the necessary time. But I think to be mindful, and I'm personally a business owner, and there's others here closing. It's hard enough to get to council meetings as it is, but I think basically exiting your business at 1 o'clock, expecting people, and as given part of this motion is to move meetings around potentially, we would be limiting those who can access live streaming, because there is a lot of people who watch via live streaming, and that is why I don't believe we need to move the meetings around. I think it's been tremendously successful to have live streaming. I think we've got tight budgetary conditions, so I think at the moment I'm happy to stay with status quo. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Would anyone else like to speak against the amendment? Councillor Stadmiller.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just had some conversations leading up to tonight's meeting, and without going into councillors' private lives, I had a discussion where one councillor was unable to be here on a Thursday, or it was difficult. One was unable to be here on a Tuesday, or it was difficult. So maybe can we just lock in several months and then discuss this further next year and go from there with it, decide what's best instead of not knowing.
I'm sorry, Councillor. You're speaking against the amendment of the time changes and for the investigation of meetings at Harden. Is that correct?
That's right. I just don't think that we can lock in time changes and investigations at all, because we don't understand anyone's circumstances and we haven't had that discussion as yet. It just hasn't happened because we're at our first meeting. It's as simple as that for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Okay, we've got a couple speak for it, a couple against it. My view on that is, yes, some meetings have been drawn out. Painful is a word I'd use. Hopefully we can do something to correct that. In regard to moving meetings around to the other chambers, besides the cost, having been on council for 12 years, tonight's gallery will be the biggest gallery we have, unless another SRV or something comes up, probably our entire term. You take a meeting to Bura or Harden and you have one, maybe two people turn up. You take it there in July, you'll have none. People are at home watching on the lounge room on the live stream. So I have some reservations about talking about moving the meetings around, investigating that, putting added cost, not just to council but to staff, which flies back to council, because they've got to relocate to meetings early in the day, especially if you want to start moving the meetings forward to 2:30. You've basically wiped out a full day for every worker, for every councillor and for every staff member. So for that reason, I won't be able to support the amendment either. On that note,
if I could exercise
a reply, you most certainly have.
Thank you. Just to respond to some of the comments, I think another point raised is obviously the staff as well have to stay back if the meetings are held later. That's another factor for people to consider. But in terms of moving the meetings, the investigation obviously doesn't commit us to moving the meetings. It merely commits us to looking into the moving of the meetings. I think it's important that, yes, the majority of people do live in Young, but there are sizable communities outside of Young in Harden and Burrawa, and many of them feel council somewhat disconnected from them. And I think moving the meetings back to a rotation signifies that the council is willing to spend time outside of Young on policy issues, on council issues, and it allows people in those places to attend where otherwise they wouldn't be able to attend. If you're coming from Reeds Flat, getting to Young is quite hard. If you're coming from Bribbury, getting to that's perhaps a bad example. If you're coming from Geelong, getting to Young is harder than it will be to get to Harden. So it's easier for some of the outlying villages to get to the meetings if we do investigate how it can be done outside of Young.
Thank you for that. On that note, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment, raise your hands, please.
Councillor Foreman, Councillor Mackey, Councillor Blackwell, Councillor Gallo, Councillor Dodd, I think go against too, Mr Mayor.
Those against?
Davis, Douglas, Flannery, Ingram, Stadmiller, Langford. The amendment
is
is
lost.
lost.
So now we'll put the original motion.
I'm sorry, Mr Mayor, there
Oh,
was
sorry,
an
we've got another amendment there in regard to Councillor Langford. I'm sorry about that, Councillor Langford. We will now go to the amendment put forward, which is meeting dates to be changed to Tuesdays. Councillor Langford, floor's yours.
Yes, I think Tuesday would be a better day. I'm not sure what everybody else thinks. And also be looking at getting the agendas earlier than we get them at the moment to facilitate a Tuesday. So that would be, you'd be looking at, say, a Wednesday before. I think the time that we get the
Don't complicate your amendment, Councillor, please.
Well, you
Don't
can't keep up.
complicate it.
So, all right, so the amendment is that we move it to Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to that amendment? Councillor Stadmiller.
I'm going to, pardon me, Mr Mayor, speak against Councillor Langford's amendment just on the grounds that, look, I've been up since 2 a.m. And that's my own business. And I'd love the day not to be a Wednesday, but someone's spoken to me and told me that they really can't attend on a Tuesday.
Councillor, I just need to clarify, you're speaking for the amendment with Councillor Langford?
I'm speaking against his amendment.
I call for someone to speak for
I
it.
thought you said for, against, sorry.
Anyone else speak for it? No?
I'll continue if you want.
Councillor Stadmiller, you like
Yeah.
to speak against the moving
I'll
to
continue
Tuesday?
speaking against it. Like I said, probably I've been up since 2 a.m, so a little bit dazed and confused at times. Look, it's just unfair for me to say, look, we should move the day to another day when I don't know everyone else's situation, so I have to vote against Councillor Langford's amendment on that basis, as much as I'd love for it to be a Tuesday. It's not going to suit someone else when it's going to suit me, so.
Thank you, Councillor Stadmiller. Would anyone else like to speak on the matter of changing the meeting dates to a Tuesday? If not,
Is there a second, Mr Mayor?
do we have a seconder?
No, we don't have a second.
I'm very sorry, we didn't have a seconder. We do have a seconder for the amendment. I'll second it for the reason of the vote. Thank you. On that matter, and on that note, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Those against? The amendment is lost. Thank you, councillors.
That's the original motion now, Councillor. Mr Mayor. We have to vote on the original motion now.
Did I have a mover and a second for the original?
Yes, we did.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. What's in front of us now, councillors, is the recommendation that council hold those 11 ordinary meetings, endorse the meeting schedule and endorse the locations of the meetings at the Young Chambers. All those in favour?
Sorry. Councillor Davis, Mackie, Douglas, Flannery, Ingram, Stadmiller, Blackwell, Gallo, Langford, Dodd. Those
Called unanimous then, if that's the case.
against?
Those against? It was unanimous.
Unanimous.
Thank you, councillors. We move on to item 6.6, casual vacancies filled by countback vote.
So moved, Mayor.
Moved by councillor Stadmiller. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconded, councillor Blackwell. Thank you. The recommendation, councillors, is in front of you, and just in case anyone needs any more confirmation in regard to what should happen there, I note that it was pointed out that the by-election could cost $200,000. So I think the answer to this is pretty evident for all. But having said that, it's been moved and seconded. Anyone like to speak to it? If not, I'll put it straight to the floor. All those in favour?
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.7, electoral funding obligations of newly elected councillors and mayors. Councillors, the report's there, and it reminds you of your obligations to report, and from someone with experience who missed a reporting date once, you will get a general reminder, and if you don't take notice of that reminder, you will be fined. So the recommendation is that council receive and note the electoral funding obligations of the newly elected councillors and mayors report, and all councillors to submit political donation and electoral expenditure disclosures to the New South Wales Electoral Commission as prescribed within this report. Do I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Moved Councillor Flannery, second Councillor Dodd. Thank you. If there's no comment or anything about it's pretty straightforward, I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Oh, what page am I on now? Next item on the agenda is item 6.8, 24/7, Goldenfields Water County Council Board elections. I think, as the General Manager may have pointed out to people earlier on, there's 2 councillors to be elected to Goldenfields, and the recommendation is that Council elect 2 members to the Goldenfields Water County Council Board in accordance with the provisions of Local Government Act 1993 and Local Government General Regulation 2021, Schedule 4. And I'm pretty sure the General Manager explained that this would be done in a manner that's legislated, and I'll hand over to you, Mr. General Manager.
Excuse me, can I just ask, I'd like to nominate, but I haven't filled out a form.
No, so through you, Mr Mayor, there are no nomination forms. So as I indicated earlier, but for the live streaming, this vote under the schedule as articulated by the Mayor, Schedule 4 is a counting of votes under the optional preferential system. So it's not a nomination, you nominate now. So once they are nominated, if I only receive 2 nominations, those councillors are elected to Goldenfields unopposed, and off you go. If there is more than 2, well, maybe I'll wait for that. If there's more than 2, I'll then explain that. So are there nominations for election to the board of Goldenfields, please? We have Councillor Mackie, we have Councillor Langford, and we have Councillor Stat Miller. I just want to make sure there are no other nominations for Goldenfields. That is a no. So what I will now ask is for a small recess from you, Mr Mayor, while the Minute Secretary prepares the nomination form. And while she's doing that, I will just explain again. Given there are 3 nominations, there are 2 rounds of voting. I will ask you, when you receive the voting form, to list 1, 2 and 3 on the form in order of preference, which is what the optional preferential system does. I will then tally those votes. If the vote is split across the 3, the candidate with the least amount of votes is then excluded. Their preferences, however those preferences come onto the sheet, are then allocated to the remaining 2 candidates, and that should determine, someone should after that process have 6 votes at least, and that person is, that councillor is then elected as the first member of Goldenfields. So then on the second round, the 2 remaining candidates, you will then be voting for those. There's no need to put 1 and 2 because there's the person with the first preferences on the second round would be the successful candidate. So, Mr Mayor, while we're just waiting now for... Are there any questions while we're waiting for the Minute Secretary?
Everyone understands the voting procedure?
Just on the preferencing, Mr General Manager.
The microphone, sorry, Councillor.
Just on the preferencing, in the first vote, do you need to put 1, 2 and 3, or can you put 1, 2?
1, 2 would work. I just, for completeness, I did say 1, 2 and 3, just so it's complete. But 1 and 2, if there had been 4, you would exhaust.
Yep.
But it's a clear preference.
Right, so 1 and 2 is sufficient?
1 and 2 is sufficient.
Right.
you.
And so once you've done the preferences, I'll ask our minute secretary to collect those papers. Then I, as a returning officer, will count them live and go from there. Has everyone done their votes? Anyone not outstanding? We just have one councillor now. So we've collected 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. Okay, thank you. What I will do is I will just count the first preference as we go through. So we have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller as a first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller as a first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Langford as a first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Langford as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. We have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. And we have a vote for Councillor Mackie as first preference. So there is no need to go to preferences. Councillor Mackie has 7 of the 11 votes. Councillor Mackie is... Yeah.
7?
Yes.
I got 6.
Sorry? 6? Sorry?
2 for Langford.
All right, so, all right, here we go. 1 for Councillor Mackie. I'll do a recount, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Councillor Mackie.
Lucky I'm here.
Councillor Mackie. Councillor Mackie. Councillor Stadmiller. Councillor Langford. Councillor Mackie. I know. Councillor Langford. Councillor Mackie, 5, 6. Councillor Stadmiller. And Councillor Stadmiller. Oh, I'm sorry. 5, 6. Yep, so actually Councillor Langford had 2 votes. Councillor Stadmiller had 3 votes, which is 5, 6, 3 and 2. That's right. So 6 is the magic number, not 7. I counted 1 as Councillor Langford, but it is 6. So
I'll pick up some of the pay later, you'll be right.
Yep, that's all right. Fantastic. All right, Councillor Mackie, you are elected as the first member of the thing. So, can I have now the... Yes, then we have now the second lot. Well, it'll be... the votes will now be between Councillors Stadmiller and Langford.
Not a good start, Mr. Julian.
Yeah, just one now because there is no preference. It'll be because there is an uneven number of councillors. One must stand out. So are all...
No, hang on, you've got to do another 3. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
And I'll just remind everyone, although you cannot, as I say, you can hear me through the microphone with our sound pickups. Any side comments will be picked up and may be audible to those watching. Thank you. Let's try that again. All right, so this is for the second position.
Everybody take it.
Third, all right. So we have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. We have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. We have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. We have a vote for Councillor Stadmiller. We have a vote for Councillor Langford. And we have a vote for Councillor Langford. I will say on one of the papers we have clearly, I'm just going to count these again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have clearly 6 votes for Councillor Langford and 1, 2, 3, 4 for Councillor Stadmiller, and we have the last vote. It's a heavy one for Langford and a lighter one for Stadmiller. If you count that as Langford, it's 7-4. If you were to dispute it as a scrutineer, it still would be 6-5. So it is Councillor Langford has been elected as the second member of the Goldenfields board. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes the election.
Okay, well, congratulations to Councillor Mackie and Councillor Langford, and I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of Councillor Stadmiller over the last 7 years on representing Hilltops Council on Goldenfields, the last term as chairman of that organisation, so that's muchly appreciated, Councillor Stadmiller.
Mr. Mayor, so you're moving that motion?
I will move that Councillor Langford and Councillor Mackie be the 2 representatives from Hilltops Council, yes,
and
to represent on Goldenfields.
And a seconder?
Seconder, Councillor Flannery. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Page 35, is it?
35, yep.
I'm up to. Thank you. There it is there. What page in this one is it, please? Bear with me, people. Normally get my paper ready. Today, the start of a new era. Item 6.9 is the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. And as most councillors would know, and for new councillors, we have to elect one councillor to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee for a 4-year term. So, first of all, I would ask that recommendation be moved and seconded, and then I will seek nominations.
I'll move.
Moved Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Gallo. Councillor Gallo, I go there. Thank you. And do I have any nominations from any councillor to be on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee?
If it doesn't interfere with the Goldenfields, I'm quite happy to stay on it.
It won't
It won't,
interfere.
Councillor Mackie served on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee in the last term, and I would definitely support Councillor Mackie in her endeavours to do it again. Are there any other nominations? Guess what happens when you volunteer? Congratulations. So I would ask for a show of hands to that Councillor Mackie be our representative on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. And that's unanimous. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Councillor Mackie, for putting your hand up. Next page, please.
145.
145. Thank you. Item 6.10, Local Government New South Wales 2024 Annual Conference. And as in the report, councillors, this is to determine 2 delegates to represent council at the Local Government New South Wales 2024 Annual Conference with voting rights, and consider any motions to be put forward at that conference before 20 October 2024. So there's 2 parts to that. Before we do anything, I'd like a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Move Councillor Gallo, seconded Councillor Dodd. Thank you. So the first part is the 2 delegates to represent council at the annual conference, which I believe is in Tamworth from the 17th of November to the 19th of November. I have been to annual conferences before, and I realise as Mayor that I'm probably expected to go again, and I'm happy to do that with the consent of council. So I would nominate myself to be one of those delegates, and I would be seeking at least one more nomination to go to that. We don't have to, but if someone, there's another spot available if anyone else would like to put their hand up to go to that. Councillor Stadmiller. Any other councillors nominate? Oh, that makes it pretty easy, Councillor Stadmiller. I would ask that council endorse the Mayor Ingram and Councillor Stadmiller to represent and be our voting councillors at the 2024 conference, firstly. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Now, I might hand over to the General Manager to talk about any motions. I'm not too sure we've had any motions put forward by any councillors, so I'll hand to the General Manager for this.
Through you, Mr Mayor, those returning councillors will know that I did put, as part of an earlier paper, asking for any motions that to be put to the conference, just to remind people, any motion you vote for it's just a motion to be put forward before the conference, and then it's voted upon the conference. Whether it gets up or not, it's at the conference. I did not receive any motions prior to the election. This is really just to ensure that if anything was preying on people's mind as they considered being a councillor, this was an opportunity to put forward your fellow councillors. Now there's no obligation to put forward a motion. However, I am in your hands and you vote upon it, and so be it. I will then lodge it with the appropriate authority. Thank you.
Councillor Flannery.
Thank you. I don't have the exact wording that I did raise at a previous council meeting. However, I'd like to put forward that Hilltops Council allow the collection of timber or fallen limbs from roadsides for declared firewood use. So to get that wording, to get the wording, it would be that we allow at nominated periods ratepayers and residents to collect fallen timber for firewood use. And I will then speak to the motion in a minute once the
Okay. A minute secretary is bringing that up. And
as the General Manager said, any of these motions and to put forward to the conference, if agreed to by council, then will be forwarded off by the General Manager, and then a lot of times a number of councils put up the same motion, so it's all bundled into one, and it could be endorsed by 7 or 8 different councils in the state, and then it's voted on at the General Assembly to see if they want to follow through with it. So the one that normally gets put up and gets defeated because there's more metropolitan councils is the distribution of the federal assistance grants, and it goes up every year. We battle the country councils, and every year the metropolitan councils just have more numbers than we have. So the methodology of how that works is definitely a disadvantage to country councils. But no doubt it'll come up again. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. How are we going with our wording? We right?
Yep, can we share that? So we're just going to share that. So can you about Hilltops Council to allow the collection by ratepayers in the community of fallen timber for firewood use from roadsides
Thank you, Councillor Flannery.
At nominated times.
at
declared.
nominated times.
I can get a second.
I'm happy to second that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is pretty simple. We live in a bushfire-prone area. We talk about climate change, and yet, beginning of every winter, a notice goes out that it's illegal to collect firewood from fallen roadsides because there might be a lizard living under it. The reality is, we like to use the cost of living crisis, but I don't know, anything can be called a crisis if you want to call it a crisis. But the reality is, firewood is a cheap and practical means of heating most people's houses during winter, and it's getting harder and harder for them to collect, and it serves a beneficial purpose also of clearing fallen timber from our roadsides, which is a risk for road accidents, and it is also a fire hazard during the summer months.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery, for that. Anyone else like to speak or speak against that? I didn't think the motion would be. Look, I'm happy to endorse Councillor Flannery's words, and a lot of that fallen timber, they talk about protecting wildlife. All it does is cover wildlife up a lot of times, and you don't see them the next thing on the road in front of you. So if there's no other debate on that, I'll put that the motion from Councillor Flannery be put to the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And with that, councillors, before we just close up, I'd like to congratulate all councillors in the chamber on being elected. I would like to pay notice to the nominated candidates who missed out on being elected and thank them for putting their hand up. We are very fortunate that we had 16 nominations for council. There's a number of council areas couldn't get enough nominations to fill their chamber, and they are now going out to pay a costly by-election cost. It's very pleasing to see that we had 16 and it was contested, and I thank everyone for being here, and I thank those councillors who put me in this chair tonight, and hopefully I can take on the responsibility that has been put upon us by the community and my fellow councillors to make sure that we work cohesively and for the benefit of our community in a manner that the community, not only do they deserve it, they expect it, and hopefully we can deliver that to them. So thank you very much. And on that note, we'll close the meeting at 5:29. Thank you all.